All right, good morning, everyone. Everyone's doing well. This was the June 6th MVP tag meeting. And let's see, looks like we got a fair amount of people, maybe a couple more are joining right now. All right. Yep. A couple more trickling in. All right. Welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. Let's see. I think looks like we might have enough to do a roll call and get things going. Krista, would you mind doing a quick roll call for the tag members?
Sure. Let me pull that up. Okay, Ben Amura,
Here.
Justin Borgo,
Here.
Steve Hart, Janice Goucher,
Here.
Ray Shipman,
I am here.
Laura Bloyd,
Here.
Shailesh Desai, Ted Clifton,
Here.
Ken Nelson, Ian Casey,
Here.
Bill Masaki, Steve Simpson,
I am here.
Brad McCutcheon,
I am here.
Harpreet Sandhu, Kevin Duell,
Here.
Alexandra Boris, Jonathan Jones,
Your mute button, there it goes. Ah, I'm here.
thank you, David Price,
Here.
and we do have a quorum.
Awesome. Nice. I think Ellie Boris is on the phone as well, but
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks.
Okay.
great. Okay, thanks everyone. Is there anyone else on the call today that would like to introduce themselves that wasn't called out already? All right. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to approving the agenda. Looks like Krista's got it up, or Annette's got it up on the screen right now. So any discussion, or would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as shown?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the next item we have on here is to review the May 13th meeting minutes. And these should have been posted with the meeting information for today's meeting. So I don't know if there's anything on here that anyone wanted to discuss, or someone like a motion to approve the minutes.
The only thing I noticed was I was not recorded as present, but I was present.
Okay, we'll get you added in there.
Thanks, Dave. Anyone else?
You know, I don't see my name on the present either.
This was probably before you were actually on.
Yeah,
the
this was the
calendar.
May 13th
Previous.
meeting,
Okay,
so
so
it
it
was,
wasn't the one
Yeah.
last week. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
right. I was not there. Thank you.
All right, so I don't know if someone wants to make a motion to approve the minutes with adding Dave on.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with adding me as attending.
Thank you. Is there a second?
No, second.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion about that? All those in favor of approving the minutes as shown, including Dave Price and attendees, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, so I think next thing on the agenda was to dive back into review of existing state amendments and going through the report recommendations. So I think this is where we left it. And this is, yeah, I don't think we moved on to the next section. So when we had tabled discussion on this one, and maybe Jonathan, I know you had looked into this a little bit and sent Krista a couple items on your findings. So maybe, I don't know if you could do a brief summary and provide kind of your thoughts on it. Or is Jonathan on? Yeah. So maybe I will try to summarize what you had sent. So I guess my understanding of Jonathan's summary is that he had kind of gone through NFPA 110 and some other notes, and found that there wasn't. NFPA 110 allows for the emergency power, standby power systems to be located outdoors on a pad, and the requirements here would only be really looking at for installation within a building. So it didn't seem like there was any added restrictions that were imposed by this code language currently. There of course could, like if there's someone that wants to write an amendment or a proposed amendment to clarify this section, that would certainly be something we could pick up in further meetings down the road. Chris, I don't know if there's anything else that you saw in what Jonathan had sent.
no, that was pretty much what I got out of it.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know, anyone else want to discuss any other items around this section that was added last code cycle? Or do we want to move on to just recommending to retain it?
Well, since I'm the one that threw the monkey wrench into it, I'll go ahead and make the motion to retain that section.
I'll
9-1.
second the motion.
No.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a motion and a second to retain state amendments for added sections 915.3 and 915.4. Any discussion from TAG members or others on the call? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of retaining the state amendments for 915.3 and 915.4, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Okay. Let's go in. I think we got a couple more sections for state amendments, then we can get into the model code change review.
Okay, in chapter 10, we just have an informational note and amendment to point people to L&I requirements for boilers and pressure vessels.
And this also like changes the state inspectors to state inspection programs.
Right, that's also for consistency with the L&I boiler program.
Right. Why is item 8 like grayed out? Yeah, here's that. That's
That is a new section or a new exception in the 2024 code.
okay. So it's a model code change.
Yeah.
I guess it would be blue typically.
I'm not sure what happened to the colors.
Motion to retain state amendment to section one, well, how do you say this? 1001.1?
Second.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Kevin. Any discussion regarding the state amendments as written?
So with this two
Oh.
bodies enforcing, how do they have to go to two places to get permit?
And I'm sorry, Salish, I didn't see you come on, so my motion I don't think is valid.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. Yeah. So yeah, someone would probably need to make a motion as Kevin's an alternate member. But I think yeah, like I don't know if anyone wants to respond to Josh's question regarding that.
I know in the plumbing world, if we have a dual inspection programs or code requirements, we do have separate permits. So like for a heat pump water heating system, there are plumbing permits and mechanical permits. So it may be there are more than one permit required for this.
Yeah, and I can speak for, yeah, as far as any boiler or water heater that's above, 199 MBH, in addition to the city, mechanical, permit, there is an L&I permit required as well.
To Kevin's comment too, I think Kevin, you're the backup for Sandy, correct? Sandy is not here, so that would make you eligible for motion.
Oh, right. Sorry,
Correct.
I read that wrong. Sorry. Okay, so the motion stands.
All right, and I guess Shailesh, is there anything else you see?
So I think I got the answer. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other discussion on this one? If not, the motion is to retain existing state amendments to section 1001.1. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
Okay, now we get into refrigeration. We originally had an amendment to section 1106.4.2. Some A2L refrigerants and reference ASHRAE 15. However, the model code now has all that information in it, so the staff recommendation is that we do not need this state amendment any longer.
Was the table for the exhaust rates actually a state amendment, or was that part of the model code language before?
That was part of the state amendment, and I think it came directly from ASHRAE 15.
Okay. Yeah, it was, I think as part of the, there's
Where there
the
was just
document you
an
had
additional
provided.
line.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I guess like you're saying, Krista, this is really kind of following the model code guidance to provide more specific direction per ASHRAE 15 on ventilation requirements that are now in the model code.
Makes sense to me, and the codes on refrigerants are changing rather quickly. More to come, but this is the current state of affairs. So good to keep up with ASHRAE 15 is my point.
Mhm.
And this makes sense to me too, to also repeal the state amendment.
And where is ASHRAE? Oh, okay, there it is. Gotcha. Cool. Well, I will make a motion to repeal the state amendment for section 1106.4.2 and well, isn't that enough?
Yeah, I think that's probably good for this section.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, so motion is second. Any discussion regarding repealing the existing exhaust rate table that's in this section? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of repealing the state amendment or recommending repealing the state amendment for section 1106.4.2 as well as table 1106.4.2, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And that section above, Chris, that's all new model code language, right? So we're not.
Yeah, that's part of this language was replaced with this language thing.
All right, so we'll look at that more in the probably next section. All right, thank you.
So amendment to section 1209.5 adds in the energy code requirements for thermal breaks and insulation on outdoor snow melt systems, radiant floor heating, all that.
Yeah, and Chris, do you have more? Maybe this might be a good one to revisit in the near future, just to if there's any alignment needed with energy code requirements, or I've seen this before and it always puzzles me why we're putting these insulation requirements into the mechanical code, and I would hope it would be covered in the energy code.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to just pointing to the section that references these numbers and following the philosophy of say it as few times as possible in the most likely place.
I think the intent was just to not force someone to go pull out another book, but
Sure.
whether or not.
And I imagine these don't change much, right? For snow melt versus like a building envelope, that those numbers change frequently, but this is probably pretty stable.
Yeah, so yeah, again, it might be something that would be good to to look at further if there's a way of making it more concise. Because I guess if I was be doing a design and I'm trying to figure out pipe insulation, I need to go to the energy code anyways. So kind of same approach for that potentially. But yeah, I think there might be some more background to it as well. So and something where we probably want something here to be retained, but maybe not as written. So maybe a future amendment is needed here.
I think the key is that the language is the same between here and the energy code. And you should probably look that up and make sure there's not any disconnect between the two.
Is that the purview of this tag, or would that be a change proposal? I guess that is the purview of this tag, right? We're aligning things, right?
Yeah,
Well, no, we're aligning the model code with the state code. That's different. So my question stands.
I think as we kind of discussed last time, my understanding is that if there's editorial things we want to implement here with the initial report recommendations, it would make sense. But if there's more substantive things that may require a proposal to change the language.
Gotcha.
So I guess, yeah, I guess my initial thought would be to retain the state amendment. I recommend retaining it, and then do some further investigation. This is something that would be good to engage some of the energy folks with, because we're doing these IMC edits and process in group one, but the commercial energy code will be offset a little bit, so they're not looking at it at the same time frame as we are.
Oh, good point. And I'm not finding in the commercial code, energy code, anything about radiant floor or snow melt. Just a word search for those two phrases brings up nothing. So I'm guessing this might be, I don't know.
Yeah, you'd look at the slab on grade and the thermal break requirements in the table.
See, I
Oh, there we
noticed
are.
I'm not that familiar with the commercial energy code, but in the residential, there's some very different energy requirements for indoor slabs, and it doesn't address outdoor slabs or slabs in unconditioned areas. So, but this R5 perimeter and under in lieu of R10 is not what is otherwise required. So so we do have a difference in language here. And if this is the only place it shows up, then I suppose that's fine. But you know, we just don't want it to be at odds with what's in another code.
This looks like the language is specifically addressing the outdoor portions, the heat melt for like pavers and roads and such. There is language in the residential code for that, but I think it is a bit different in the commercial code. I could reach out and ask somebody real quick while we're talking if you wish. Because this is talking about already systems outside the house, and the residential stuff mostly addresses the stuff on the inside with maybe one paragraph about snow melt in the residential code. And like I said, I could call someone who's an expert in the energy code real quick if we wanted to move on to maybe the next topic and come back and get an answer.
Yeah, yeah, or yeah, if we do think there's some further investigation and potentially proposed changes, then yeah, we could move to retain and then look at that further in more detail. in the future. But yeah, Jonathan, if you do want to get some more references pulled out, that would be great. Maybe.
Oh, good.
Nope, go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
I was going to say, to your point, Ben, since the tags work in different timelines, and this is energy code, who knows what they're going to cook up, right? So I'm leaning towards move to retain, and then if there's discrepancies, get those fixed later, because the energy code folks might come up with something here or receive a proposal to change this, and then we're off kilter again, even if we coordinate now.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
agree. It makes sense to retain and then submit a code change proposal to reference the energy code instead if we want to make it point to one place.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, then, motion to retain state amendments to section 1209.5.
Second.
All right, thank you.
Comment,
So,
I'm a non-committee member on the phone call.
oh, go ahead. Yeah, please, if you want to introduce yourself. But yeah, going to call for comment on this.
Oh,
Go for it. Yeah.
this is Mike Kennedy. I guess I'm following this. I am a little, I feel like the last sentence perhaps should use the word interior there. To make it a little clearer what's going on, since we're using slab on grade. Well, I don't know. That's just a comment. It's a little confusing just because of that last sentence to me. But otherwise, I think it's fine. That as far as I know, the energy codes do not specify insulation under snowmelt systems. They specify the controls, but not the insulation. So that's not, I don't believe that's even covered in the energy code. But the insulation values under the slab, the interior slabs and suspended floors are.
Well, I would take that as a friendly amendment to the proposal of the motion. But if we're able to make that kind of change at this point.
Yeah, I kind of think that should be a code change proposal.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're saying something, Jonathan?
Yeah, it looks like it's mostly just addressing the snowmelt systems. So the radiant floor heat, in the very first sentence seems to be the odd thing that's throwing everybody off, right? It seems to be addressing only exterior snowmelt. And if I'm wrong, correct me. Just by reading it. And I think so that very first sentence after the very first period, it says radiant floor heat. Did I lose you again? Aha, my internet came back. It's playing the hokey pokey here. I'm just going to relocate to a new space that has internet connection. I apologize.
All right, I heard you fine. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to also kind of look at the next two sections. They specify the requirement for thermal break.
Yeah, for radiant floor as well, those sections in the 1200s, right?
It is logical that requirements for radiant floor heat inside a space would require more insulation than an outside snowmelt system. Even though the snowmelt system is subject to more extreme temperatures, it only operates for short periods of time during those extreme temperatures, whereas the in-floor radiant operates 24/7, 365.
Yeah, I would say that seems to be the intent. There could be some improvements to make sure it's clarified. And also, make it so it's obvious what type of system it's applying to as well, because like this 1209.5 is for both gradient flow and snowmelt. A lot of the added language is directed for snowmelt only,
Right.
but then
Yeah, I
the
mean,
last sentence could potentially apply to both system types.
yeah, good point. I mean, just thinking for that potential code change proposal, that first sentence in red, it'd be nice if it said for snowmelt systems and then just go on, or even make a subsection for that. But that's a code change proposal.
All right, so I guess Kevin, you feel, or you want to just kind of keep the initial motion?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, appreciate the commentary and thanks, Mike, for providing some additional feedback. Anyone else have any comments for this or not? All those in favor of retaining the state amendment to 1209.5, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, the next one just adds a requirement for being able to drain the downstream of shutoff valves.
All right, any discussion on this section? It's from 2015 code cycle.
So I have a question. Wouldn't that be upstream of the shutoff valve? When you're speaking of draining it, the water's going from the tank either past the shutoff valve to something else, in which case the shutoff valve has to be open, or prior to the shutoff valve is where a drain would take off to the side that would allow you to drain everything above the shutoff valve. I think the language here is just goofy.
Yeah, and I guess like Ted, you're thinking like the drain needs to be occurring between the shutoff valve and the expansion tank.
Exactly. That's the only place it's going to do anything.
Right.
So it depends on your definition of downstream. This
Right.
water's gonna flow in both directions.
That's what
Yeah.
I tried to say.
Draining downstream is a different thing than if you're supplying, and this is talking about draining. So I think it needs to be clarified. It's not satisfactory the way it's worded. Eliminate the word downstream.
Yeah. It's
The
you just want to
phrase,
you want to be able to drain the expansion tank. That's the point.
a
So,
measure of draining the expansion tank between the tank and the shutoff valve. So instead of downstream of, between the tank and the shutoff valve.
Yeah, that makes sense.
and the way Chris has indicated it is a method of draining the expansion tank shall be provided. It's like, there you go. You got it. But I think we're into proposal here time, right? Because
we already have the requirement in here to provide shutoff valves at expansion tank connections. So that's the model code section. So yeah, if we just recommend removing the downstream language, it seems like it would still provide the requirement for drainage, but not be confusing.
Yeah, I like the idea of saying between the tank and the shutoff valve, because otherwise people could say, well, you can drain the system and that's your method of draining the tank.
right. Not the point, obviously.
and I could be wrong, but I think this is totally within our purview to make that change because that is our job. And we are only clarifying what it already says. We're not changing the intent at all.
Yeah, like if the tag feels that the intent here is to like have this drainage available between the shutoff valve and the expansion tank, then yeah, I would agree that we wouldn't be changing requirements or adding or really removing anything. It's really a clarification. I don't know, Krista, if that would be appropriate or you think it was,
Makes me a little twitchy, but
yeah.
Well, and just for the sake of following the thread, it seems like you would want something like a method of draining the expansion tank independent of the system shall be, or, you know, a method of draining the tank shall be provided independent of the system, something like that. Because do we care where the point of drainage is really? Or does it need a diagram, you know? But I think I'm going to go with Krista's intuition on this. And I guess I'm still a little unclear on how the tag does its thing here. But we're just making recommendations. We're not changing anything. So, and what we say goes to the MVP committee, right? They're the ones who actually refine that, and then it's ultimately the council that makes the change. So,
You know, one of the things that occurs to me, and I own a bunch of commercial buildings with boilers in them, and they all have expansion tanks. So I've seen a few of these. In the old days, we always used to attach this expansion tank so that the pipe in and out of it was at the bottom of the tank. More recently, in the last 20 years, I've seen the tanks installed the other way around so that the pipe comes into the top of the tank and the tank is hanging down from where the pipe and the shutoff valve would be, in which case you can't drain it. So do I have a whole bunch of tanks that don't meet code because they're upside down, if you will? Or, you know, what does the code really say and why? You don't need to drain the tank to replace it when it's mounted upside down because there's not a lot of water going to spill out of it when you disconnect it, only whatever pressure there is. So you relieve the pressure from it and you just drop it off and install a new one. So maybe we should recommend removal of this section because it makes no sense if the tank is installed with the pipe, with the fill pipe coming in from the top.
So when this was first introduced, did they state the purpose of this amendment last time?
And beyond just the rationale that's stated there for requiring the means of drainage. And yeah, like for larger expansion tanks is an issue with preventing removal if you're not able to drain the tank.
well, there's the other thing too of if you have a diaphragm tank, you don't need to drain it. But if you have a non-diaphragm tank, eventually the water will absorb all the air in the tank. And then you don't have an expansion tank anymore. You just have a tank. So you have to drain that water out and get an air cushion back in there. But I don't know if folks use those so much. I don't know. Big systems, maybe.
Yeah, I would say like, yeah, there's plenty of, like,
So not just for removal, but also maintenance of that air cushion.
mhm.
Ooh, Krista's got it right here.
yeah, it just doesn't say much. So yeah, it changed considerably.
Yeah,
During
Yeah.
the
the
original
process.
proposed language was a little bit different.
And there's not much on a rationale here.
Right. And I noticed the cost benefit is for residential only. Those are probably little diaphragm tanks. 5 cent cost.
That's per square foot, I believe.
Oh,
The
right.
rent
Thank
system.
you. Well, and I'm just going back to these words, downstream and shutoff valve. I think the intent is that the shutoff valve, what I'm seeing in my head anyway, you have a expansion tanks in line with the hydronic system. You've got a shutoff valve to it. Again, the downstream doesn't quite make sense. You kind of need another drain valve between that shutoff valve and the expansion tank to get the water out of there. So downstream doesn't make sense because in an expansion tank, the water goes in and out, right? Depending on the pressure.
Since the original rationale for this amendment seemed to have only been aimed at residential, I'd make the motion that we remove this from or recommend removal of this amendment from the code. It just doesn't apply.
Again, that would have to be made via code change proposal.
Not if we simply recommend the.
It is not affected by a change in the language to the model code. And therefore, to change it, you would have to go through a code change proposal.
Right.
To recommend that we don't retain it requires a code change proposal?
Yes.
Then we have to recommend a code change proposal because it makes no sense like it is.
I do see some low-story commercial buildings that are set up in the same system as residential properties.
And that's essentially what I have, but this makes no sense for what I have. It makes sense to have a method of draining if the tank is in the typical upright fed from the bottom position, but it doesn't make sense if it's hung below the fill pipe, as it tends to be these days with the air bladder tanks.
Maybe just put a suggestion in there that it requires this if it's being bottom fed.
And again, that's a code change proposal.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally fine with that, but we need a code change proposal because this makes no sense. It's not complete. It actually needs a section.
That's interesting. Our options are either approve or code change proposal. We're kind of stuck with those two options unless there's a model code change.
Right.
Right, because right now you're operating without any public notice on a specific requirement to remove or add stuff. So
Right.
you just need that added layer so you can, make the announcement on the agenda that this is going to be, we're going to talk specifically about changing this section. So anybody that has an opinion or interest in that particular section can attend. So by
Thanks,
just
Krista.
changing it through this process, it kind of sidesteps the allowance for people
Yeah.
to voice their opinions and concerns.
There you go. So
Makes sense.
it's an APA issue. I didn't quite catch that. So I appreciate that clarification. Okay. Well, with that, motion to retain state amendment for section 1210.7.6. Just to keep things going here.
Thanks, Kevin. Is there a second for that?
What
I'll
happens if
second
we
it.
don't second, or if we don't approve a motion? Does this remain permanently tabled?
Yeah, and I guess like for Chris's purposes, like we're trying to provide the report to the MVP committee to provide the additional set of um, recommendations for existing amendments and model code changes. So there's something to put out there for forming the base for moving forward into the 2024 code process.
Okay, thanks.
Right, yeah, so it would go to the MVPE committee, and if they had a recommendation, they would make it there. Or the default would just be to retain everything as it currently is.
And then once we get proposals in, then we can debate all this stuff till the
Right,
cows
then you
come
can
home. So
slash and dash to your heart's content.
then everyone's notified. That makes sense. I get it. Yeah, it's hard to remember that what we're doing here is just aligning past amendments with model code, and that's it.
Right.
I did second to the proposal, just in case it wasn't heard.
Oh,
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yep, understood. Okay, so any other thoughts on this? If not, just motion is to retain state amendments to 1210.7.6. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
That's Ted, you're the one opposed, or any others?
Okay, 1305.7, amendment to be consistent with NFPA 30.
All right, so it looks like this was added last code cycle, but and then there's not a new NFPA 3 that's been published. Is that correct?
I don't believe so.
It looks like 2021 is the last one. Or no, there is a new one.
There is a
2024.
2024. Yeah. However, what is the model code?
Model code still references the 21 edition.
Well, there you go.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at the 21, so of course it would.
Oh, right.
Where did I put? Lost my 24. Hang on a minute.
Looks like 24. I see. I'm guessing this hasn't changed in terms of the clearances, but I think it would be good to confirm there's no change on the NFPA side.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm not finding my code right now.
Okay.
There it is.
All right. So I guess, Krista, we're gonna take a look at the 2024 edition.
Yeah, I'll take a
and
look
stuff,
at it
right?
and,
Okay. I
and
guess
see.
could we just recommend to retain it pending any NFPA changes?
Makes sense. I mean, this may not have any changes in NFPA 30. But if there's a note there to catch that, then pick it up.
Okay. Was there a
Which
motion?
you have noted, Krista. So yes, motion to retain state amendment to section 1305.7.
Second.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussion for this one? Hearing none. All those in favor of retaining existing state amendment to 1305.7, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, Ian, I saw your hand come up as we were voting. Do you have any comments for this?
Not relative to this. I just forgot to mention at roll call that I and Kevin need to drop at 10 o'clock, but can rejoin at about 10:30.
Okay, thank you.
I
And then
I think that still maintains a quorum.
I believe so, but Chris or Annette, please let us know.
Yeah, we would still have quorum.
Okay.
Just,
I need to say that I need to drop at like 11:30. I should have told you that.
All right, so yeah, just I guess Brad, when you do look like you're about to drop off, just raise your hand so we can do a recount.
Unfortunately, I'll need to drop at 11 too, so I'll do the same, raise my hand.
Okay.
hopefully we'll get Kevin and Ian back at that time and
Mhm.
Yeah.
maintain the quorum. Okay, so the rest of the changes or state amendments are reference standards associated with the other changes. I do have noted that the council will be looking at a possible rule change to update the UL 60335-240 standard to the one that I think it's now a 2022 standard, the 4th edition, that's referenced by the statute. And they will be determining whether or not we go through special rulemaking to do that, or just not comply with the statute until the 2024 edition goes into effect. And some of these will have updated editions. I haven't gone through and checked all of them, but I will go through and update to the more recent edition for ASHRAE 62.2. So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on any of the UL standards or any of the standards.
Want to just do these in one swack?
This is my name is Harshad Inamdar. I work for Ream Manufacturing. May I speak?
Sure. Arshad.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find the hand gesture, so otherwise I would have raised my hand. But at least I think the UL standard that I see on the screen, 60335-2-40. Yeah, the latest edition is the 2022 edition.
Right, and that's what it says in the comment.
Oh, okay.
That
sorry.
the
Yeah, okay.
model code edition is the 2022. But the council will be determining whether they adopt that standard before the 2024 code goes into effect, or if they'll wait until the 2024 code to make that change.
Okay.
So this might get put into the 2021 editions, what?
Yes.
Yeah. And that would be this, is that the same for the other 60335 section at the bottom?
Yeah,
of the
there
screen?
are all the.
Okay.
It's just, since there are so many standard bodies that are in the name, it's added under each name. So it's under ANCE, under CSA, and under UL in the reference standard section. And then there would be also some associated changes in Chapter 11 for the 2021 to reference the more recent versions of that and ASHRAE 15.
Yeah, I think if I can suggest that, yeah, updating the referenced edition of some of these standards in the 2021 code would be helpful, and not wait until the 2024 rulemaking.
Understood, and that's kind of a little bit outside of what we're doing today, but
Okay.
if there are proposed changes, it can obviously be submitted through the various processes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if there's, thank you.
The committee will be discussing this at their meeting next week. It's on the agenda anyway.
All right, so Kevin had a drop, it looks like. But I think he was considering proposing a motion probably to retain or accept the staff recommendations for the references, I'm assuming. But I don't know if anyone else wants to discuss any of these, if we want to look at these individually, or if someone wants to make a motion to go with the staff recommendation here.
I'll make the motion to basically look at all of these as one group and take the staff recommendation.
I will second.
All right, thank you. So motion and second to accept the staff recommendations for reference standards as written. I don't know, Chris, if you want to scroll through them one more time. But yeah, anyone have any comments on any of these or other thoughts? Okay, I'm hearing none. All those in favor of, um, of kind of going with the staff recommendations for chapter 15 reference standards? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So Krista, does that wrap up the existing
Those
state?
are all the existing state amendments.
Ooh,
I don't
alright.
think there were any other.
Did we cover the fire one that I was supposed to look into while I was having internet
Yeah,
connection issues?
we did talk about that one and move to retain it, Jonathan, just based on we kind of Krista had forwarded me your summary and findings on it, so I provided a secondhand summary of that.
Perfect. I just want to make sure it was clarified for you folks.
Thank you.
All right. Doing a search for table takes a bit longer than
There's a lot of tables.
a lot of habitables.
You can, if you put a space in front of the search, it should eliminate those. Right in front of the key.
That was just until we've reviewed the model code changes. Same with this. Okay, so we've got one table to look at chapter 4 changes and one table to look at chapter 5 table changes.
All right, awesome. We move on to get into reviewing the model code language, and yeah, again, we're providing recommendations here to adopt the changes, but obviously that doesn't preclude us from doing additional work to look at proposed changes to those sections further on following the issuance of this report.
Right, and the main purpose here is to just flag things that have a significant impact or possibly add additional costs to the code. We won't necessarily be changing them, but we can make a recommendation that a code change proposal be generated, or that if there's a conflict with a state amendment or statutory requirement, we can look at assigning someone to write a code change proposal, or if it's easy, just recommend minor changes. But the big thing is to just identify where there are big changes in the code. So those people with an interest don't have to look through the entire code to know where the changes are that they may want to look at for developing their own code change proposals.
And yeah, there's examples of when staff had produced reports for previous code cycles for this.
And I went through and kind of did my first take on which are the significant changes. They're only my opinion, and I'm certainly not an expert in the mechanical code, and won't necessarily know if there's some small change that has a more major impact. So if you see something with a large impact, please let me know, let the tag know. If there's something that I have flagged as a significant change that really isn't, ditto. And we start out with the changes to 104 and 105, and Laura had looked at this previously for the fuel gas code. And they are not entirely identical, but they are mostly the same. Now, if you want to comment on that at all, Laura?
Yeah, I took a look at it. Yeah, I didn't see any issues at all with how they reorganized that section 104 with 105. So yeah, that seemed appropriate to me.
Great, and thanks again for looking at that, Laura. So, yeah, I don't know if we want to do what we did similar for the fuel gas code and recommend adopting the changes.
So this is, we're now, we're off of the existing state amendments and now we're just accepting the model code changes, is that, or the base model code changes, is that correct?
Correct. And then looking to see if there are changes that will increase the cost of construction, have some difficulty associated with them, or are just a significant change to note that this has to be done differently now. And
Okay.
so just flag what is notable.
Okay, when I reviewed the section 104 changes, there was, I would agree that with the staff recommendation that there was no cost impact associated with that. So I can make a motion to accept the model code changes for section 104.
All right, thank you. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All right, so motion and second to just go with the recommendation to adopt changes to section 104. Any further discussion here? We looked at this a little bit when we looked at the fuel gas code as well, as Krista mentioned. So it's pretty similar. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, section 112.3, just states explicitly that the qualifications for the Board of Appeals has to be from people who are familiar with the provisions of the code and not just any employee of the jurisdiction.
Sounds like it makes sense.
I don't have any issues with that being added.
Yeah, a lot of jurisdictions completely rewrite chapter 1 as it is.
Yeah, this one was also in the fuel gas code, model code changes.
Right.
I can make a motion to accept the new base code language in section 112.3.
Second.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of recommending adoption of model code changes to section 112.3, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And we have a number of new definitions and modifications to definitions. The first is a definition of ambulatory care facility. I haven't looked at the DOH requirements to see if this is consistent, but I am guessing that it is pretty close. I think it might have actually come from John Williams to begin with. And I'm sure that if it doesn't, that they will be submitting a code change proposal.
All right. Okay. Anyone have anything to bring up for this one, or feel that it is adding new cost or other requirement, like significant changes? Yeah. Anyone want to make a motion to recommend adoption?
So moved.
Thanks, Ted.
I'll second.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussion for this definition? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending adoption of new definition for ambulatory care facility?
Aye.
Please say
Aye.
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 any opposed?
Okay, the definition of approved agency was changed by replacing agency with organization and including that it be product evaluation along with product certification.
I will move for approval of this one.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
So motion to recommend adopting model code changes for approved agency definition. All those in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And a modification of balanced ventilation system. They added system and added
And this is one where I think we had discussed during the existing amendment review that like the new definition they have here does change what you could potentially balance the system at. So I don't know, like I would say it's probably reducing the requirements in some ways, or at least allowing for a lot more variation in how the system could be balanced between the supply and exhaust air. However, it didn't appear that this definition is utilized in the model code very much, and I think the section that it would affect in the state code is already revised or taken out as part of our state amendments. So I would say there's probably pretty limited impact, and there might even be a proposal to in the future to eliminate this, because I don't think it really does anything for the state code as we have it currently written.
I'd like to weigh in on that if I might. And my work again has to do with residential and not commercial, but the principles apply. Basically, the way we are ventilating now in residences doesn't take into account most of the actual ventilation that takes place. And specifically, we have a range fan that is rarely balanced in residential work. We also have a heat pump water heater now that can be 250 CFM that's not balanced. We have a dryer that can be anywhere from 150 to 300 CFM that is not balanced. So in light of the fact that we need to make some major changes, not only in code, but in available equipment so that we can properly ventilate houses and not over-ventilate houses, I'd like to see us leave this in because it does provide us with a baseline definition that's workable.
Yeah, and I think that's a fine approach. And Ted, I would say like there's in the 2018 code cycle, there's a bunch of additional definitions that were added for balanced whole house ventilation, not balanced whole house ventilation, and so on. That would, and those are the ones that are actually used in 403.5 for the residential ventilation requirements.
The issue with that, though, in current code is, and with the 2018 code, is that came out before the tier 3 heat pump water heater, for example. It also came out before we really had a lot of heat pump water heaters. So there's a lot of things that have changed in the market, and there's still a lot of things that are simply not available in the market to actually meet the intent of code today.
Agreed. So yeah, like I think like you're saying, like, if this gives us a basis to improve the language in the model code or state amendments, then yeah, I have no issue leaving it in and looking forward to adjusting it.
The current language is relatively close, except for it has a 5 CFM or 10%, whichever is the greater for the balancing aspects. It's M1505.4.1.4. But otherwise, the current code reads exactly the same, except for that little difference, the 5 CFM or 10%, whichever is greater.
And that actually could relate to the available equipment, because the Panasonic Whisper Green, for example, it will only adjust in 5 CFM increments. So that may be where that came from, simply trying to match code to available equipment.
But I do agree with Ted here, and I will second Ted's proposal to accept this as it sits. I was just making sure that it was clarified that there is some existing language that's just about exactly the same, except for it says 5 CFM.
All right, Ted, did you actually have a motion?
Yeah, my motion was to recommend to adopt this change.
Okay. Down for the second. Okay, so any other further discussion? I guess I will say like the new language is specifying an average versus like I believe that the older language was based on the supplier flow rate. So we can look at that further as we move forward, but any other discussion for this one? All right, all those in favor of recommending adopting the definition, definition for balanced validation system, please say aye.
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 All right, any opposed?
Okay, next is the definition of condensing unit. And this just tried to correlate the definition between all of the model codes.
I move to recommend that we adopt.
Second.
All right, any discussion for this one? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending adoption of model code changes to definition of condensed unit, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Next is a new definition for draft stop coming from the IBC and IFC, just again for consistency between the codes.
So I move to recommend adoption of that change.
Second.
All right, motion to recommend adoption of definition for draft stop. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And then the new definition of grease duct.
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion here for this new definition? I think we saw it a bunch in some of the existing amendments, and we'll see it more.
I'm confused by this definition. Why is integral downdraft exhaust system included in here when this could be updraft, side draft? I mean, anything. If it's a type 1 hood. Oh, excuse me. It's a parenthetical statement. A duct serving a type 1 hood to convey grease-laden air, or a cooking appliance good for the. Okay, never mind. Just had to talk that through. So no issue.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, it's a little bit weird and clunky, maybe. That's like for type 1 hoods as well as appliances with downdraft exhaust. All right, motion on the table is to recommend adoption of model code definition for grease duct. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Then they added 2 new definitions, one for gypsum board, one for gypsum wall board. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
I'm trying to figure out what the reason for having two definitions. I know just up above, we were talking about, if you could scroll back up, yeah, the draft stop. So would a piece of gypsum wallboard, as we currently call it, used as a draft stop is not then a wall surface? Or why else, or why would we be doing this?
Wondering if gypsum board includes ceilings as well, and wallboard is not, but yeah, it's curious because, I mean, when you go to the store, it's one product, right?
GWB. It's always been GWB as long as I've been in this industry. Well, since the early 1960s when they created the first GWB, it was strips 18 inches wide prior to that.
I can pull up the rationale if you want to look at it. Maybe.
And further on in chapter 6, the model code does use gypsum board to clarify some of the
Well, and I see that
exceptions
gypsum,
for
oh, go ahead,
plumbing
sorry.
materials. Yeah, sorry.
You see the gypsum wallboard, the definition references the gypsum board definition. So, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the origin of that was.
I notice under the gypsum wallboard definition, it says interior surfacing for building structures. It does not reference wall structures, so it can still apply to ceiling structures. But I suspect the reasoning may be there's surface of walls, ceilings, etc., and then there are uses of that kind of board that are not for surfaces, but more for draft stops or some other purpose.
Or shafts and things, yeah.
Is dense glass technically gypsum wallboard? Because maybe that's what they're looking at is a fire rating for products on the exterior of the building to meet the 1-hour fire code requirements, and the other one does not have a fire code piece to it. They're two different types of products.
Dense glass does not have paper surfacing.
See, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure. I'm just trying to help walk through the thought process of why they would separate the two out. Is if obviously they're trying to see one has a fire protection and one doesn't. And is there products that have it exactly the same except for you purchase like the the fire rated? Yeah, well, you get the idea. I'm trying to talk it through with you guys. I don't see why it's separated either, unless dense armor or products like dense armor would fall in that category.
They are separated in the building code, if that helps. The 2021 building code, the definition of gypsum board is slightly different than what they're proposing, but the definition of gypsum wallboard is the same.
There be something associated with the water resistance of a particular product, as in lining shafts, that kind of thing?
Most of that difference is in the adhesives in the core, not just in the surface. I mean, it's both, but
maybe there's something in the ag industry that's being used that I'm unaware of or something, or industrial. Most of my stuff is definitely more like small commercial and residential.
I think we're getting bogged down in this. But somebody must have had a reason somewhere.
I agree, and they're just a definition.
Yeah.
So we can still continue discussion, but in the effort of time, I will say I'll just move to adopt since that's just in the effort to align with what the national codes are doing.
And I'll second.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yep, I think that makes sense. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of recommending adoption of the model code definitions for gypsum board and gypsum wall please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
And a modification of the definition of heat pump.
I have a problem with that. So air to water heat pumps, for example, with the monoblock system, the refrigerant only transfers heat to water and the rest of the unit transfers heat into the space. So the exact wording of this actually doesn't describe an air to water heat pump. In fact, it doesn't really apply to a ground source heat pump either. So it's just an incorrect definition.
And do you think the substance category you wouldn't feel as being like a water system?
I would accept that substance is anything, right? Any material.
It's not very descriptive, but it doesn't seem inaccurate, really.
So substance can be the water that then gets transferred into the space.
Yeah.
I can accept that.
All right, and then Brad, I saw your hand come up.
Yeah, I'm just getting ready to get off here and wanted to let everybody know and thank everybody for their time.
All right, thanks, Brad. I think Kevin, looks like you're back on.
Yeah, so is Ian.
Okay. I think we should still be good. But thanks, Brad. All right. Yeah. So for the heat pump definition, it seems like the model code changes to try to maybe simplify it or something like that, but still seems to be in line with what the previous intent was.
I'm going to pick on the language a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily transfer heat into a space or a substance. It might transfer heat into or out of a space or substance.
For sure.
Yeah, and then you could argue the point that the space could be the outdoor environment as well, potentially, but that might not really be what they're trying to do. But yeah, I think it's kind of the model code definition that we have to start with, and if it actually affects something within the code requirements, then it could be something to look at amending. But otherwise, I don't see this as necessarily having a cost impact.
Yeah, the initial definition seems just as wonky.
The initial definition was really wonky.
Yeah.
Again, it's similar to the last one and the effort of time. We can still discuss afterwards, right? I will move to accept the heat pump as listed here.
I'll second that.
Okay, so any further discussion on that? And then all those in favor of recommending adoption of the model code change to the definition for heat pump, please say aye.
I will say aye, and then I will spit.
Go ahead, Ted. What?
I will say aye, and then I will spit.
All right. Any opposed? No spitting, please. Thank you.
And next is a change to the definition of listed to include similar terms to listed that are not listed, certified, classified, and anything else.
I think this one was in the fuel gas code as well. I think it's like a global change they're making.
I'll move that we accept this one.
Second.
All right, motion to accept model code changes to definition for listed. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And a change to the definition of lower flammability limit.
I think that looks clear enough. Make the motion to adopt.
Second.
All right. Please speak up if you have any comments for these, but try to move through these pretty quick. So all those in favor of adopting model code changes to lower flammable limit for refrigerant, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, next is the first one that I've marked as a significant change in the definition of non-combustible materials, where they delete out all the examples and just refer you to ASTM E136 and state that it has to pass ASTM E136.
And where the ASTM aligns with these sort of things, or does it change how this is happening? You saying these are just examples that were crossed out?
Right, I think that's actually defined in ASTM E136.
All right, if that's the case, I'd move to accept.
Second.
All right, motion to accept. I guess kind of for what we're trying to do, I don't know if anyone has any comments on whether the model code changes present a change in significant cost increase or potential cost increase, as Krista was flagging.
Yeah, and if you don't think this is significant, we can take off the flag. It's just,
You know, I would argue that since material selections are typically made in an office by an engineer or other qualified professional who has access to ASTM 136, this is just a clarification that sends him one place for all the data he needs, all the information he needs. So this should actually be a reduction in cost or effort.
All right, so I guess Jonathan, I think you made the motion. Would you agree and want to retain the previous staff flag for significant change, or remove that flag as part of your motion? You're muted if you're talking. So I guess I'm not sure what the intent of the initial motion was. So,
Actually, I'm not sure that there was a motion, but I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept this or recommend adoption of this change without a flag.
Yeah, I
we
think
had
I
a
s-
motion. Oh,
I'll
there you go.
second.
Okay.
Either which way, whoever first or seconds between Ted or I, it really doesn't matter. I think it does, honestly, as long as the ASTM says the same thing, I think Ted and I are in agreement and we're good to go.
Okay. All right. So motion, as I understand, is to recommend adoption of the model code change for definition of non-combustible materials, removing the flag for significant change. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
New definition for peer review, consistent with section 104.2.3.7.
Sounds good.
I'll
Should
second
we-
that.
In way of discussion, should we just assume that approved goes back to the definition of approved, which means it's the local jurisdiction that approves this type of third party or other agency?
That's what the italicization of approved would indicate, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, yeah, I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Kevin, I think, was that a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the definition of, or adopt the change to the definition of peer review.
I'll second.
So motion is second. All those in favor of recommending adoption of definition for peer review, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, change the definition of refrigerant and adding refrigerant designation for consistency with ASHRAE 15.
I'll move that we accept this change. It makes perfect sense.
Second.
All right. All right. All those in favor of recommending adoption of model code changes for refrigerant and refrigerant designation? So,
Aye.
please-
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, then modifying the definition of refrigerant safety group classification. And this took the independent definitions of flammability classification and toxicity classification and moved them to sub definitions under refrigerant.
All right, all right. I just think class 2 and class 3 need to get indented to be their own lines. That would match the model code as well. So it should be the class 1, class 2, class 2L, class 3.
Perfect. Possibly the same thing on that toxicity classification.
I think it looks like it's all, or I think that's a separate definition, Krista? Or is it? It's
Well, no,
Well, it's a
it's
sub-definition under refrigerant.
under refrigerant, right? Okay. Yeah. I see.
But yeah, I think Ted's point is apropos.
the Class A and Class B need to.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. That's actually how it appears in the model code as I'm looking at it.
Oh, the way it's shown.
Yeah, it's like
Oh, okay.
it's two sentences together.
Yeah, I think the two definitions had come from different sources, so they were slightly different formatting.
I mean, that's how it's written now. It doesn't necessarily stay like that.
I'll move that we adopt these changes or recommend adoption.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you. Okay. Motion to recommend adoption for model code changes to refrigerant safety group classification. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
And then this was actually part of that. So I'm just going to do that. Cheat. The definition of refrigeration system was changed. It was refrigerating system. It's now a refrigeration system. And some minor changes for consistency with ASHRAE 15.
I'll move that we recommend adoption.
I'll second that.
So motion to recommend adoption for changes to definition of refrigerating or refrigeration system in model code. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And the next one, they deleted the definition of refrigeration system mechanical, citing that it was inaccurate, didn't need to be there.
Yeah, it's redundant.
Agreed.
All right, someone want to make a motion to recommend adopting the deletion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so motion second to recommend adopting the deletion of this definition for refrigeration system mechanical. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
A new definition for steam bath equipment.
Well, it makes sense to me. So I'll move that we recommend adoption of this change for steam bath equipment. I guess addition.
Second.
All right, motion second to recommend adoption of definition that is added for steam bath equipment in the model code. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And then toxicity classification was deleted from the Ts because it's now a sub-definition of their refrigeration system. So I can cheat and include this under the previous motion if you want.
I would agree to that.
Okay, anyone have any opposition to that? I guess, Krista, maybe one thing for that is, I think it's under refrigerant safety group classification definition.
Okie dokie.
Thank you. Right.
And that moves us into chapter 3.
Right. Everyone, like, I guess I do recognize that we've almost been going for about 2 hours. So, you know, if anyone wants to take a quick 5-minute break before we get into chapter 3.
Sounds good to me. 5 minutes?
Can we do a 10-minute break? That'll get us back at 11.
Yep, that works for me. So we
Works
can get at
great.
11.
Good deal.
Sounds good. See you.
All right, we're back at 11. So maybe just do a quick roll call. Make sure everyone's back online. We still have quorum.
Okay, Justin Borgo,
Here.
Steve Hart,
I see him on, but I don't know if he's muted or he's not back yet.
Janice Goucher,
Here.
Ray Shipman, Laura Bloyd,
Here?
Shalish Desai, Ted Clifton,
Here.
Ken Nelson, Ian Casey, Bill Masaki, Steve Simpson, Brad McCutcheon, Harpreet Sandhu, Kevin Duell,
Here.
Alexandra Boris, Jonathan Jones, David Price,
Here.
let me go through again because we don't have a quorum. Steve Hart, Ray Shipman, Ken Nelson, Ian Casey,
He's getting off mute.
Here.
Bill Masaki, Steve Simpson, Brad McCutcheon,
Brad did have to leave.
Jonathan Jones,
Hey, this is Steve Hart. I'm here.
And then Shailesh, are you back? I see you're on the call.
Yeah, but we already had somebody for both of them since we had primary and alternates there.
Oh, okay. So with Steve and Ian back on, Chris, are you still short?
I am one person short.
So did you hear my acknowledgement? This is Steve Hart.
Yes, however, Janice Goucher was on and she was your alternate, so that doesn't count towards a quorum. Let's see. Ray, you're on the list. Are you here?
Looks like Shailesh is still logged on too.
I'm sorry, did someone call my name? I was trying to get unmuted.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. With that, we do have a quorum now.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, everyone. All right. So yeah, if anyone does need to leave, please let us know so we can confirm. We can just keep going through this. All right. Thanks, Krista. Let's get it going. Try to move through this.
Okay. So they simplified the language in cutting and notching by deleting a bunch of the text and just referring to the referenced standards.
I'll move that we recommend adoption of these changes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion here from any tag members or others on the phone? Please remember to speak up or raise your hand if you do. Otherwise, all those in favor of recommending adoption of model code changes to 302.5, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And again, if anybody feels that this is a significant change or any of the upcoming ones are a significant change and aren't flagged, voice your opinion and we can address it.
Thanks, Krista.
Piping support spacing in table 305.4 removes lead piping.
I move that we adopt or recommend adoption of that removal of lead piping.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of removing or adopting the model code change to remove the lead piping requirements in table 305.4, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And the next one, they took the shielding requirements out of the body of the protection against physical damage and made it its own little subsection, but no changes beyond just moving it section.
They did change the size trigger or the spacing trigger from 1.5 to 1.25.
I believe that's consistent with what's in the electrical code.
Like it. Motion to adopt change to definition of protection against physical damage.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there anyone that feels that like the quarter inch space change would have a significant impact? Or seem pretty neutral? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of recommending adoption of model code changes to section 305.5, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, access just went through the change that happened, I think it was in 2018, to try to consolidate the difference between access and accessible. Just change shall be accessible for inspection to shall provide access for inspection.
Interesting, subtle little change, but hey, I'm for it. Motion to adopt change to the definition of access.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Not. All those in favor of recommending adoption of changes to 306.1, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And per our discussion on this section previously, in the existing state amendments, 306.5 is updated to correlate with OSHA standards, and this is a state amendment that we no longer need because L&I has adopted changes to
Just
map everything.
align. Yeah.
So let me just unstrike this.
All right, and it looks like you had flagged this as a potential significant change.
Right, just because all the spacing changes slightly.
Mhm. And yeah, item 11 is also added for a top landing.
And a new top landing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is significant.
So there could be some costs associated with that as well, which is what the yes means. Well, that's not a state amendment. Never mind.
But the fill change you have on here is what you flagged. I'm assuming.
And this is from OSHA, right?
Correct.
I mean, it got to align with OSHA, but the implication is there's added cost and that needs to be estimated, or what's the issue?
Well, and is there added cost if you still had to comply with the federal requirements and
Oh, right.
it's yeah. But
In that
there is
case,
the appearance
no.
of added cost.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If you complied with the state code but violated OSHA, you're still in violation, right? So I guess I'd argue there's no additional cost. And the state code is just behind the times. In any case, is a motion available? Or is there work that has to be done here?
I would say like if for the motion, it would be good to include if we want to like retain the flag for a significant change here, as well as recommending adoption of the language or remove that flag.
Gotcha.
My reading of this is that ultimately, once the industry is used to the new standard, it's going to be a slight reduction in cost, but initially, adapting to it is where there'll be cost involved. So I'd say leave the flag on it, but not try to put a number on it.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so motion is to recommend adoption of model code changes to section 306.5, including the flag for significant change. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, and that brings us into ventilation.
All right, and most of like obviously most of this is state amendments, but the model code changes are those all in item 3? We kind of touched on this before.
Right, so we're factory built intake exhaust combination used in accordance with the fan manufacturer's instructions. The question is, should that actually be fan manufacturer's instruction or the intake exhaust combination fitting manufacturer's instructions?
Right, or yeah, if it's that combination fitting is provided by like an ERV manufacturer, it's the fit, like indicating fan there seems pretty restrictive. I don't know if it would be a significant change, but you're probably not going to have a lot of guidance from a fan manufacturer for those devices.
And making a code change to equipment manufacturer seems like it would make sense.
Yeah, so probably want to flag that for future code change. All right, any other discussions here? Again, even though like we're foreseeing a upcoming change here, move to recommend adopting the model code changes.
Motion to adopt model code changes to section 401.4.
Second.
Motion and second to recommend adoption of All code changes to 401.4. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, so 40331, the model code removed the occupancies 3 stories and less in height above grade plane. The state amendment had sized it to just group R occupancies and not calling out R2, R3, and R4. Part of that was that we had previously not adopted R4. And I believe that's going to change from this point forward. But I don't think it makes a significant difference whether it's generic or specific to the. It just includes R1, I suppose.
I'm just curious if we had. Okay. Okay, so previously in 2021, we had the 3 stories and less included.
Well, that's the change that the model code makes. Yeah.
Okay. Understood.
In the note, in the box on the right there, trying to understand, it says in retaining the state amendment to reference the whole house ventilation section. Is that elsewhere?
The 403.4 is the whole house.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So I guess the group R used to be the model code language, and then they exempted out group R1 in the 2018 edition. So we can either follow the model code section for that and incorporate the change that was made from the 2018 edition, or keep group R1 included as it has been for the last, well, I guess since 1992.
And what, okay, so section 403.3.2 is the model code, and is that significantly different than?
It's not adopted.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's the section that just gets replaced by the big amended language.
Okay.
And Krista, is this 403.3?
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know why they put it on automatic numbering. It's just causing me no end of problems.
I think is it just 403.3 and not 0.1?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Um,
Okay, with all that going on, motion to adopt change to 403.3.
all right, is there a second? Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, so motion to adopt model code change to remove language in section 403.3. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay.
All right, we have arrived at the table. All right, so I know Allie and Laura as well have looked into some of the table changes. I don't know if anyone else had or looking at some of these. Obviously, the model code added a bunch of different new categories and occupancy classifications. So I don't know if anyone had anything specific they wanted to point out, or Laura, you had any specific items to share here?
I looked at, let's see, at the time we were, there's an existing state amendment for kitchenettes. I'm not exactly sure when it was added, but I did notice that there was a break room category that was added both under offices and under the food and beverage service. So and specifically with regards to the office kitchenettes versus the break rooms, there is different requirements there. And then I didn't really have any issues with preserving the kitchenette, the state amendment, with the break rooms, because I do kind of view them differently. But I know Allie kind of chimed in a little bit about that. So anyway, that's the work that I did on that.
Do we have a definition of break room?
I don't think so. I don't think that was added.
Nope.
And also in this table, there is a large animal. So what that large quantity will, large animal holding room, large is how large?
I'm thinking cow. Since it's hyphenated, it would be large animal and not a large holding room.
Right.
But I think he makes a good point that how large is large. So is a large dog, for example, a large animal, or do you have to be a cow or a horse? Or what about a sheep? Is a sheep a large animal? It's not a clear definition unless it's given in the definition somewhere.
So, and a lot of this is pulled from ASHRAE 62.1
Right.
as well, of course.
Is there a mention somewhere that the terms used here are defined in that standard?
No, and there's lots of terms all the way through the table that aren't necessarily.
So large by volume or by weight, also another way of looking at it.
A peacock versus like, yeah, a horse.
Yeah, it seems to come down as to whether you can put them in a cage or not.
Right.
Yeah, because there's those small animal cage room requirements. And yeah, I would say like if it would be probably a good idea if more clarity is needed on this area or other areas that we could try to bring in some people that have more expertise and how these might be defined or clarified to provide some more and better insight.
It's like a code change proposal to say, terms in this table are per ASHRAE 62.2 in so many words. But that's not our task today, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to move to approve.
And yeah, do we want to look at just this section, or Kevin, I don't know if you wanted to do the whole table.
Oh, pardon me. I thought we'd looked at the whole thing.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's roll through these. I think there's other areas that would be good to look at, like they've added a category for laundry rooms within dwelling units to the hotels, motels, and resorts category. Whereas if you go to we already have like a separate section for residential spaces.
I notice a lot of these though don't have a
Private dwellings.
requirement for ventilation. That's left blank.
Yeah, it refers to another table.
Right, and there did used to be a requirement for
The laundry rooms.
laundry rooms, but that went away in the 2018 edition.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also the new outpatient healthcare facilities section.
Yeah, so I think similar to the animal treatment one, that would be one to look at. I know Ali had done some initial review of like some of the WAC standards that it was referencing for some that we have currently referenced for some of those ambulatory care facilities and stuff like that. But yeah, again, I think that there's probably a lot more review and amendments potential for what's been added to the table, as well as existing amendments. So Kevin, you put forward a motion, sorry, and I don't know if there's a second for that, or motion to adopt the model code changes, or recommending adopting them.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion for the table here? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of adopting model code changes to table 403.3.1.1, please say aye.
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 I'm wondering if I have a typo in the telephone closet one. Let me double check that, because it seems odd to include it and have no.
Right. Don't ventilate that place.
Well, that's what the model code says.
It's 0.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do remember seeing that. That's cool.
I wonder if it's because we don't have telephone closets anymore.
I've seen some offices add small phone rooms in, but sometimes they call them something else. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think like obviously the flag is there because there's just so much that got added.
Yeah, with the whole new spaces for animals and outpatient healthcare facilities.
Mhm. Yeah, and Krista, I know we had existing amendment changes for this tabled. Do we need to, should we look at that again real quick, or?
We can.
Okay, just so we can close that out as we're going. Yeah, so maybe I don't know if someone wants to make a motion to retain existing model code amendments here as well, for the table.
Could that just be added to the
Or
motion to adopt?
state code amendments, sorry.
Yeah, so revise the motion to adopt model code changes and retain state amendments to the ventilation table. I forget the numbers for that.
40311, 403311,
Is there a second to?
or
update the
Laura,
motion?
do you take or accept that modification of the motion?
I'll second it. Oh, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yep, that
Okay.
works. All right, all those in favor of recommending adoption of model code changes to table 403.1.1 as well as retaining existing state amendments, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, so there was the change to 3 stories and less in the group R ventilation rates, but we don't adopt this section and instead push you to the whole house ventilation section, and these would all fall under that. So the staff recommendation is to keep the existing state amendment, but go ahead and throw the word occupancy on there
Mhm. Okay,
as an
and
editor.
oh yeah, gotcha. So we would we would retain the model code language for the section title
Well, except for the 3 stories and less.
because that's
That was
that's
struck though,
struck
yeah.
in out. Yeah, okay.
Well, it's
Yeah.
consistent with what we talked about just a minute ago.
And I would assume we would want to apply this recommendation for the subsections here as well and tables.
What was that, Ben?
So 403.3.2 is kind of this initial section, but then it also has like the table in the next section.
Oh, right.
That has like the model code exhaust rates, but all of these get we have the state amendment, the big section for the state amendment that provides
Gotcha.
that requirement. I don't know if someone wants to make a motion to go with the recommendation to not adopt.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion is second to go with the staff recommendation to not adopt model code changes per existing state amendments to section 403.3.2. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Hey. 407.1 adds just ASHE to ASHRAE 170. And then we have the existing state amendment for the rest of it. So the staff recommendation is to keep the existing state amendment, but go ahead and update that standard citation.
And I think I mentioned this last time. I think in the model code it says ASHRAE / ASHE 170.
Yeah. I made that in the actual code. There we go.
All right. Okay. Any discussion here? Someone want to make an amendment or motion to recommend adoption?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right. Motion to recommend adopting model code change to 407.1. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And we're into chapter 5. Okay. 501.3.1. Item 3. Let's see, adds an allowance for exhaust opening to be 1 foot or more above a gravity intake opening for ease of installation in tight wall areas. Removes approved from approved factory built intake exhaust fitting, and then adds in fan again. So I'm assuming this would be the same comment on replacing fan with a different term, possibly. And then there's the change in separation for the
Exhaust opening.
proximity to a gravity air intake opening.
And I guess you had flagged this as significant. And we were thinking for the opening separation
Yeah.
change. I mean, honestly, it seems like it would potentially decrease cost for this, but it would be significant.
So would you advocate removing the significant flag?
I mean, it could be a significant cost decrease, I would say, but probably not an increase.
Or just a significant change?
Yeah, I think significant
change
change would make
practices.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Would someone like to make a motion to adopt the model code change?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion this section? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending adoption of model code changes to 501.3.1, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, a new section on common ducts that only allow them under negative pressure.
I'll move that we adopt that.
Second.
Second, all right. Any discussion on this added section?
I would provide a comment that sometimes when that's done, the damper will flap all night long and keep people awake. So using sock dampers rather than atmospheric dampers is recommended, but this is code, not recommended. So
All right. Anyone else? Any comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of recommending adoption for model code changes for section 501.6, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, and again, we've got another shield plate that is moved into its own subsection. And this one was originally 1¼ inches, so that's probably why the other one was also changed to be the same.
I guess for everyone's benefit, this is within the closed dryer exhaust section.
Right. Motion to adopt changes to 504.8.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending adoption to section 504.8 or 504.8 for the model code changes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
504.10, just adding a reference to the appropriate standard in the commercial clothes dryer section.
Right. I think previously, like, this is just purely adding it. It just used to say listed and labeled without the UL reference.
I'll move we recommend adoption.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Anyone feel there's a significant cost change by having the UL reference, or I mean, I think like the listing and labeling requirement previously probably carried most of that cost. But
Yeah, I don't think it'd be significant.
all right. Hearing none others, all those in favor of recommending adoption for section 504.10 model code changes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, 505.3, this was the one that we had also flagged in the existing state amendment where they reference the two new sections for Group I occupancies, section 505.7 and 505.8. And whether to incorporate those two sections
So
or keep it as it was previously, and in that first exception, just exempt Group I1 and I2 occupancies.
What do sections 505.7 and 8 have to say? Oh,
yeah,
right
those
there.
are there, yeah. So yeah, we had tabled that, the existing amendment review, so we could look at all this together.
So you've got the requirements for Group I1 and Group I2. And then I had these flagged as significant changes as well, with the new requirements for those two occupancies.
And I forget, I1 is like hospitals. And I2 is like congregate care facilities or something like that. I should look this up myself. Okay, so yeah, I1 is a facility that has more than 16 occupants.
And group I2 is medical care on a 24-hour basis.
Right.
And Krista, is there a section 407 that, oh, that's building code. Okay, sorry. Okay. All right. So yeah, I guess, does anyone have any initial thoughts on these added sections as well as the amended or the language that's in the previous section?
I see an exception here in 505.7. And it says provide a charcoal filter and that will reduce the smoke and odor. Now, charcoal filter may reduce odor, but I don't know about smoke.
Yeah.
I think it's always said smoke and odor, hasn't it?
Or ductless range hoods.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this ductless thing, but there is a requirement for ventilation to the space.
I would bet that we can all agree that none of us like ductless range hoods. If we tried to take them out of code, we'd get hung.
Yep. Well, I know this is an increase in compliance, but just looking at what group 1 in particular, I1 is for, or group I in general is folks that are incapable of self-preservation without physical assistance. So, you know, it's a higher standard of care. So I'm assuming this came from, well, I've heard it said that a lot of code is born of grisly experience. So I'm going to move to adopt these changes.
All right, and Kevin, do you want to specify adopting 505.3 as well as these two added sections? Or
Yeah, so let's make this complete. So motion is to retain existing state amendments and integrate changes from model code for sections 505.3. And should I just say, well, let's keep going, 505.7 and 5.5.8.
Yeah, keep in mind, group I1 would include conditions 1 and 2, which you're looking at voluntary treatment centers and things like that too.
Assisted living facilities, where you might have like a kitchenette for staff to use or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so motion on the table. Is there a second for this one?
I'll second it.
All right, so motion and second to retain state amendments to section 505.3 and recommend adoption of model code changes to 505.3, 505.7, 505.8. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. So we are 5 minutes out from our time, and we still got a couple more sections to go. I think, Krista, you need us to get through this, is my understanding.
Well, actually, if I can invite Dustin to speak to us.
Okay, that'd be great.
Good almost afternoon, everybody.
Yes.
So just like with this group here, the IFC and IBC tags are not moving quite as quick as we had hoped to be moving on these reports here. So right now, I believe each one of the tags has at least one meeting left before the committee meetings. But if we're not getting these reports done like pretty much by tomorrow, we're running up against some APA open public meetings requirements, sorry. So we wouldn't be able to get this document out for public review before the committee meeting. And then if we push the committee meeting back towards the council meeting, we would still be running up against the report approved by the committee being available appropriately before the council meeting. So right now, the momentum is to push these out a little bit further so that we can get through them, provide a good product to the council and the committees. And, I know that these long meetings for everybody, they're burdensome on your normal day, and then to do any other work that the staff has to do as well, we're struggling to meet those ends as well. So I just want to let everybody know that the momentum here is to push these out a little bit further and call a special council meeting in July to pretty much only approve these reports. Whether or not the proposal period will open at this council meeting is still a topic that's up in the air and will most likely be voted on at this council meeting here in 2 weeks. So that is the update on exactly what we're doing. No firm decisions have been made yet, but I'm putting it out there to everybody, and just wanted to bring that to the attention of this group here today. And then I would expect by the end of day tomorrow, we would have a for sure direction on what we're looking to do to try if we need to do some more work on these. I don't know how much more time that this group needs to complete this body of work, but the IBC and IFC tag needs more than 2 more meetings of 3-hour meetings to get this done. And so that's kind of where we're at. So I'd be open to any comments or questions from this group at this time.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, I think we're getting closer, but I would definitely think we probably need another 2 to 3 hour meeting to wrap up this review. I don't know what others feel like.
We're about halfway through, but there's a lot of changes in chapter 11.
Yeah, and I think there's for chapter 11, I know there's going to be some amended proposals language that's going to be introduced by some, and so it's going to be, yeah, there's a lot to look through for sure. And then yeah, there's a couple other sections that we need to get through.
Yeah. And just one other thing, I wasn't here for the entire meeting today. I made sure to tune in here at the end. One of the maybe time constraint issues that I've encountered at the other groups is discussion of potential proposals that are needing to be made. Is that those discussions can kind of be tangential to the task at hand and be a little long-winded. And so I'm trying to spread around, hey, let's keep talk of potential proposals to limited to, do we think one's needed? Do we want to recommend a proposal be talked about and try to get the body of this report out? And so just a note on what were some of the time difficulty problems I'm having in the other groups is we get off topic as far as these reports go. And so yeah, I really appreciate everybody's work though on getting this report done, and by no means don't feel bad that we're not at the mark right now. You know, we're all here doing what we can, and so I want to express appreciation to everybody as well.
All right, great. Thanks, Dustin. And yeah, I would echo that. And appreciate everyone's input. It's great discussion, and I think there's a lot more to go through, obviously, but knowing that we aren't going to be singled out as the one tag that's pushing things out further is great. And I feel if we have good momentum at the moment, but I would definitely feel that scheduling another subsequent meeting would be in order to see if we can finish up the rest of this review. So happy to hear from anyone else.
We haven't even started the plumbing review.
Well, plumbing is group 2, fortunately, so that won't be until maybe next year or something like that.
I'll try to get some documents out to people.
Speaking of
to have
plumbing,
some time to review.
we got some new news here. We have an integrated draft, or not a draft, an integrated code with IATMO available for folks interested. So there's a read-only version on their website. If you navigate to their read codes page, our code is at the bottom right. And there's also a soft cover version available for purchase. And right now I'm getting that into the news bulletin on our webpage. But since we got, this is the MVPE committee or tag, thought I'd bring it up and let you guys know that that resource is available as well.
Cool. All right. So I guess anyone else have any thoughts on subsequent meetings? I think we're going to use the similar procedure for with Annette reaching out to find a good time.
So I will not be available at all next week.
Okay. We missed, but yeah, understood. And Kristen, Dustin, I think we can discuss when would be a good time for the next meeting, but I'm assuming probably next week is probably when we want to do it. Just keep things going.
Maybe.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm kind of crowded next week, but we'll see what we can come up with.
Okay.
Either next week or the week after. Definitely want to try to get it in the next 2 weeks.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, so everyone, please stay tuned for the next meeting. But otherwise, thanks again for everyone's attendance and contributions today. We had another good, productive session going through these and identifying items to look at in the future. But otherwise, I think that concludes our business for today. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take
care.